November 11th, 2025, and we are convened to hear docket number 2540. Probably the longest docket title I've ever had. Related to the United Federation of Police Officers, the town of Thetford, and the International Union of Public Employees, Local 150, and the Chauffeurs, Teamsters, Warehousemen, and Helpers Union number 597. I am Robert Greenmore, chairperson for this proceeding, and sitting with me are Gwenna Peters and Roger Donegan. Will the parties please identify yourselves for the record, starting with the, I'm going to refer to you as the Teamsters from now on to shorten things up.
I am Curtis Clough. I am the president of Teamsters Local 597.
Thank you. And then the United Federation of Police Officers.
Yes, good morning, Chairman. This is Christopher Hoare with the United Federation of Police Officers.
Thank you. And the International Union of Public Employees. Pardon me? Okay. And the town?
Brian Story, Thetford Town Manager.
Thank you.
Could you repeat your name again, please?
Sure. Brian Story.
Okay.
And Mr. Wallace, we see that you are here. And you're here, sir, in what capacity?
Yes, Ryan Wallace, Field Rep, Teamsters Local 597.
Great, thank you.
All right. I understand the parties have stipulated to, I'm going to refer to you as the UFPO exhibits D, E, H, I, and J. And you stipulated to their admission. And also you both have stipulated to the interest cards that were related to each union. Are there any other preliminary matters that need to be addressed before we begin? Hearing crickets. We will begin. We'll start with some opening statements by each of the parties, and we'll start with the Teamsters.
Thank you for being here today. The Teamsters are here on the 11th of December, 2025. We're asking to intervene in the case 2540 UFPO Town of Thetford because it is our belief that the employees deserve access to choices that they have indicated they themselves wanted on their ballots. The Vermont Municipal Labor Relations Act is a law that is meant to protect the free exercise of rights by employees of any municipality in the state. These people that go out on days when the temperature is well below zero to maintain our roads, the people that work 16 hours a day during snowstorms to make sure that people in their communities are able to get back and forth to work and so that emergency services can reach the furthest parts of the community. These workers are the backbone of the small and large communities which they serve, and the legislature intends for them to have the freedom to exercise their own preferences. The people who are truly injured by excluding the Teamsters from this election would be the 100% of those employees in the bargaining unit who signed authorization cards with multiple unions because they wanted to have free exercise of their own choice. The whole purpose and intent of the statute in the first place is in part to protect that. The town of Thetford employees who were represented by a ghost local union, Local 802, have not had representation for months. and by all appearances have been abandoned by that local union. We will show that there were mistakes in posting this election, and that because of those mistakes, the employees were the ones who were disenfranchised. We will testify that the entire time the Teamsters had acted as though there was no election petition filed because the members were not properly warned of this petition, despite board procedure requiring posting be done soon after receipt. We make no claim that this was a malicious act, but nevertheless, it was the facts on the ground, and the board will need to determine whether that lack of a posting impeded the employees in the free exercise of their rights, and if because of this, the employees should be allowed to vote in an election, which includes Teamsters Local 597. There may be discussion of a contract bar and whether a contract bar exists beyond the third year of an agreement, and the board will need to decide this. But most importantly, the board will need to determine whether anyone other than the incumbent union has a standing to invoke a contract bar, or if it can be invoked by any interested party, which would stray away from longstanding precedent. The Teamsters will present testimony about a group of employees who, having been abandoned by their local union, reached out to the UFPO and the Teamsters so that they could have a choice of representation. And the fact that the group was negatively impacted by the untimely posting of the petition and lack of information, and how that affected the guidance that was given to them on the next steps in the process that they needed to take. The Teamsters believe that the precedent set in Enosburg Falls Water and Light Department Employees Association and Local 300, IBEW, and Enosburg Falls Water and Light Department 1177, and confirmed most recently in the petition of New England Police Benevolent Association 32328, that allows for a petition to be filed at any time following the initial period of a 3-year contract bar up until the expiration of a contract, should be valid, and the board should uphold our ability to petition based on their own precedent and the lack of standing of parties outside the incumbent union to assert the claim. The Teamsters' actions in filing the petition when we did was the result of a petition posting that did not happen. Had there not been an ongoing election, by the way of which the employees had no functional information about, this would have been a perfectly sound petition to file with the VLRB. There would have been no other bar present, based on VLRB precedent, to holding an election with the Teamsters petition that we filed on November 14th. VLRB rules of procedure require that the posting be made in order to inform the bargaining unit members. Otherwise, there would just be a memorandum sent to the employer. For the good cause we will show, Teamsters Local 597 should be added to the election in the case of 2540 because we showed a significant showing of interest, and the workers of the town of Thetford will be injured by not being allowed to make their free choice in a secret ballot election, and there is not a contract bar nor a party qualified to exert one that has done so at this time.
Okay, thank you. The UFPO, okay, I'm sorry, checking my notes here. Opening statement?
Yes. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. This case is about protecting the integrity of the Municipal Labor Relations Act and the board rules ensuring orderly and peaceful procedures for preventing the interference by any party with the legitimate rights of the other. The facts will show that the UFPO has unanimous support within the Thetford Highway Department and acted fully within the rights afforded under the Municipal Labor Relations Act. In response, however, the Teamsters have taken numerous different attempts to interfere with the orderly and peaceful procedures established to prevent interference by another party. The UFPO filed a timely, valid petition with the board. The Teamsters has not. Yet instead of following any of the proper procedures, the Teamsters still attempt to disrupt the orderly process by taking actions which were unlawful under the Municipal Labor Relations Act contrary to board precedent and procedural defective base. The evidence will show the following. The Teamsters intervention was untimely on every front. First, the Teamsters petition was out of the time under all avenues they attempted to use. As a petitioner, the petition filed outside the contract bar doctrine, which prohibits a challenge during a valid CBA except within a narrow established window. Their filing do not fall anywhere within that window and still does not. As an intervener, the petition was filed outside the strict timelines for intervention established by the board's election procedures. Election rules and timelines were established when the Teamsters attempted to intervene. Improperly at first and still so. Intervening after election arrangements have been established is impermissible and could set dangerous board precedents for all future elections. The Teamsters filed an improper and defective petition. Their petition was not only late, it was and still is wrong on its face. The evidence will demonstrate the Teamsters filed a petition not as an intervener, even though the UFPO's petition was already pending. The Teamsters petition lists the wrong incumbent union, misidentifying UPSEU as a national affiliate of the IUP, an assertion directly rebutted by an email from UPSEU, which denies any affiliation with the incumbent union IUP. The Teamsters filed all of their petitions via the card checkoff process of 51%, which in established under current board practice is reserved for groups of employees not already certified or represented. The petition was not notarized impartially. The notary is an employee of the Teamsters themselves, undermining the requirement of attestation be neutral and independent. These are not harmless technicalities. They go directly to the validity, legality, and integrity of the representation petition procedures and statute. The Teamsters engaged in conduct constituting unfair labor practices. The evidence will show the Teamsters engaged in conduct which violates basic principles of neutrality and orderly administration of representation cases. The Teamsters approached the town seeking voluntary recognition. They attempted to secure voluntary recognition even though an incumbent union was in place and a timely petition had been filed by the UFPO. Voluntary recognition in the face of a known incumbent and active petition is contrary to the law and board procedures. The Teamsters visited the town garage. In a conference hearing, the Teamsters admitted they had been visiting the town garage. This conduct is improper due to assistance to one union over another, contrary to 21 VSA 1726A2, and putting the petitioner at a significant disadvantage. The Teamsters failed to notify the incumbent union. The Teamsters never provided required notice to the actual incumbent, IUP. Instead, they relied on a pamphlet listing UPSEU incorrectly as the incumbent's affiliate. This error goes beyond a lack of due diligence. It deprived the true incumbent of notice and violated fundamental due process rights principles built into the representation system. Furthermore, to this very moment, the Teamsters has never once notified the original petitioner, the UFPO, of any petition they filed, even to this very moment. The board should reject the Teamsters petition to preserve the integrity of Vermont's labor system. This case is not merely an administrative irregularity, it carries significant statewide implications. If the board were to permit Union 2 file a petition late or at any time with the wrong incumbent listed, using a non-neutral notary, accessing work sites improperly, and intervening even after election rules had already been set, this would allow any union to disrupt any election at any time, undermining the foundation of Vermont labor law. such precedents would open the door and invite chaos into every municipal and public employee election conducted under every state labor act, as they all share the similar rules in this case. The UFPO respectfully submits the Teamsters' actions untimely, defective, improper, and unlawful, require dismissal of their petition and reaffirmation of the established orderly process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On the town?
Thank you. So the town's position in this is deeply regret any contribution we had to the confusion and irregularity about the process early on. I was too casual we're a small shop, and I was a little bit too casual with how to proceed, and that has come back to bite us in this situation. Our position is that we want to interfere in the employees' decision-making process as little as possible. This is their decision and not ours, and we don't want to be involved in it any more than we have to be. So I'm here to support the facts and kind of explain any questions or anything about the town's process. But we want to leave this up to the Labor Relations Board and the employees. We'll respect whatever the decision.
Okay, thank you. The Teamsters, this will be your case. Do you have any witnesses to call, or are you self-testifying?
I'll be testifying, but just to save any confusion, Ryan's gonna ask me questions.
Okay. No? I'm sorry. Hold on one. All right. Ryan, are you a lawyer?
I am not.
Okay. Under Vermont rules, you're not allowed to ask the questions in this case. So you'll be, Mr. Clough, you'll be self-testifying. I'm going to read the oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the pains or penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Unless directed by me as Labor Relations Board Chairperson, when you are testifying, there should be no one else in the room with you, and there should be no one in your location able to overhear your testimony. You may not consult with anyone during testimony. You should have access to the exhibits about which you will be testifying. You should not look or add or make reference to notes or any other documents or materials other than the exhibit to which you are testifying, unless allowed to do so by the board. Any devices used by you when testifying should be used only to view the exhibit to which you are testifying. You may proceed.
All right. So we were initially contacted by the workers at the Thetford Highway Department in roughly the second week of October. They, called us the way normally anybody would, looking for representation. During that process, they left a voicemail. We played a little bit of phone tag. Eventually, we ended up connecting a call with them.
Mr. Clough,
Yes.
You can't be referring to things other people said. That's hearsay. So just talk about the direct actions and facts as you know them to be, I think.
And you can talk about what you did in response to communications, but you can't give details about those communications if those communications are being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, meaning union member Smith asked the Teamsters to be their union. That's, you're offering that for the truth that union member Smith asked you, the Teamsters, to be your union. So you can talk about what you've done in response, but you can't, and how you responded, and the actions that you took, what you observed, what you saw, what you said, what UFPO said, what the town said. But if the union member isn't here, you can't give specific detail about that.
Even if they had the conversation with me?
Yep, they're not here.
Okay.
You can talk about, you can say, in response, we did X, Y, and Z. So after having a communication with union members, we did whatever.
All right. So I think I understand. After having communications over the phone with union members, I went down to the Town of Thetford Highway Department. After the union members had finished their work for the day, I went in and met with them in the normal area where they have meetings. We had a discussion over the course of approximately 90 minutes. Some of them came in a little bit later than the rest because they didn't want to meet with me while they were on the clock. And I didn't want to meet with them while they were on the clock. So they came in, we had a discussion. At the end of that discussion, the union told them that we would be happy to file a petition for them if they were to be interested in that. And they could indicate that they were interested in that by signing union cards, union authorization cards with Teamsters Local 597. I discussed with them the fact that it was a little bit odd that there wasn't a lot of information in their office connecting them to the union. I reviewed a little bit of their contract.
Excuse me, I'm just going to pause for a second. You've used the word union a couple of times. So when you're identifying union, if you can specify which union you're referring to.
Sorry, their incumbent union, Local 802.
Okay, thank you.
So we were discussing Local 802 and the contract they had with Local 802. I was answering questions about that contract and reading some of it just verbatim out of the contract for them, so they would understand what the process was supposed to be for Local 802 to reopen the contract with their employer. I looked around the office for information posted on the wall to find out who their local union is, because the only information I had was the Local 802. And then eventually, this was on October 29th, the day of this meeting. Eventually, I did make my way to one item on the wall that was identifying, that it was union related, and it was this pamphlet identifying IUPE, which IUPE with UPSEA was there posted on the wall. I did take a picture of that, which I would like to enter into evidence while I was physically there, because it was posted on the wall. I would like to enter that into evidence as our Exhibit 2.
Does anybody have an objection to that exhibit being entered into the record?
Yes, UFPO would like to object to that being entered into the record primarily because of relevance and untimely filing of exhibits as it relates to this case.
Could, Mr. Clough, could I ask a couple of questions about the exhibit? When you said you went to the office, could you give us generally, when you said the office, what is the office? Where was it in relation to where workers may congregate or work?
It looked like it was their break room. It was located in the DPW building in the town of Thetford.
So the pamphlet that you took a picture of was where in the break room?
So when you come into the door in the break room, it's reasonably small office. It's one of the first bulletin boards. It was on the left. It was near the bottom of that first left bulletin board.
Okay, we will allow the admission of that exhibit.
So
It's identified as 2?
2.
Yes, Teamster Exhibit 2.
So after taking a picture of that item, I left, and approximately a week and a half later, I received another communication requesting that I come down to visit the workers at the town of Thetford again. I went down once again after their workday had completed. They came into the office once they were done for the day, the same office that I'd met them in before, and they provided me with union authorization cards. Over the course of I took the cards from
I'm
them.
sorry, I'm just going to cut you off. When you say union authorization cards, Teamsters union authorization cards, is that correct?
Yes, those are on the record, I believe, based on our conversation previously. Yes.
Yep.
At which point we began the process, myself and Ryan, of filing a petition for an election. I was in the meeting room again. Neither time that I was in their employee room did I see a petition posted by UFPO, which would have changed the demeanor of my conversations with the members there. If that petition had been posted and I had seen it, it would have changed the process that I would have used. It would have changed the information that I gave to them. But despite this being a room filled with information that, the members of the bargaining unit could read and peruse, it had town policies and rules and even a little bit of union information, not much, but a little bit. There was no petition for election. When I left there that day, I had never seen the petition for election. It was not posted in that area. I'm not allowed. I had no knowledge of the petition for election that had been filed by UFPO. It simply wasn't posted in that room for me to see where the rest of the communications were. Then we went through the process of filing a petition for what we thought was going to be a regular election. I did a little bit of research on board precedent, and what I found led me to the belief that any point after the third year of a contract, someone could file a petition for decertification, or I guess a raid is what this would be called. I filed a petition, reached out to the town of Thetford, starting to end up doing some communication with them, asked if they were interested in voluntarily recognizing them, notified them that it was our belief that we had the majority support of the bargaining unit. A couple of days later, I did hear back from the board and found out about all this stuff going on. I was trying to basically figure out through that interaction what the town of Thetford's position was on whether or not the bargaining unit had been essentially, there was no claim by the incumbent union. I didn't know at that point in time if there was. I asked them to voluntarily recognize. They didn't respond. I think most everything else is on the board's official record. I was reached out to by Judith Dillon. There was some, a few emails, and then we participated in a conference to determine what was going on. As I said earlier, I had initially filed a petition with the intent to just run a regular election because I felt like there was no contract bar because we were past the 3-year mark in the contract. I participated in the the status conference, I guess is the best thing I could compare it to. Chris was there, Judith was there, Ryan was there, Brian Story from the town was there. And, essentially, we're here. I had been asked to submit with our evidence. When we submitted everything, I'd been asked to submit like a clarifying letter that we did intend to intervene because obviously our initial petition was meant as simply a union election petition. And so we submitted that, when we submitted our evidence, we submitted a corrected petition to I guess we had put the letters in the wrong order on our initial petition. That's pretty much all the testimony I have to give on that. So I guess I'm ready for questions.
Okay, does the UFPO have any questions for Mr. Clough?
Yes, we have some questions. Good morning, Mr.
You may
Clough.
proceed. Huh?
I said good morning, Mr. Clough.
Good morning.
What is your current position with Teamsters?
I am president and business agent of the Teamsters Local 597 in Vermont.
And how long have you served in, I would say, those capacities? They're two positions, right?
Both capacities or either capacity?
Both.
So I became a business agent in 2019, president late 2022.
Okay. And can you just briefly describe your responsibilities, particularly as it relates to union representation, labor relations? I would think that most of those probably fall under your business agent position.
So do you want the long description or the short description, Chris? I could literally go on all day.
I can empathize with you. I've been doing this for a long time. You even referenced a case that kicked off my career. So just briefly touch on some of your roles and responsibilities?
Negotiating contracts is my primary responsibility, as well as enforcing contracts. Lobbying occasionally. From time to time, I have to handle arbitrations. Sometimes we hire an attorney for those. Sometimes I do them myself. Sometimes we hire an attorney for representational cases. Sometimes I do them myself. I don't do them a lot. I think this might be the first or second representational case I've ever filed in Vermont. And then just ancillary duties such as, that don't necessarily involve representation, but are closely tied to it, such as, reviewing the books and records, signing checks, making sure the account balances are not having unauthorized funds taken out of them, things like that.
Would you say one of your responsibilities is to file petitions with the Labor Relations Board, and what, generally speaking, walking through the election process, conferences, hearings, such as?
It can be when we don't hire a attorney.
Okay. So some of these questions might be a little redundant, but bear with me. Obviously, you already testified to the Teamsters asking the town for voluntary recognition. Can you maybe delve a little bit deeper into why did you pursue the voluntary recognition process? With the knowledge that there was an incumbent union.
It will be hard for me to do that without talking about what I was told, it's hard to do that, Chris, without testifying about what I haven't been allowed to testify about. But I will walk through it again, and maybe I can give some more information. Essentially, number one, the Teamsters have a policy of asking for voluntary recognition. Just like, even though it's not required, we have a policy of filing an F7 with FMCS, even for public sector, because it's needed when we have to present for strike benefits.
I'm going
We
to
need to
stop
have
you
that
right.
paperwork.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right there. I just want to make sure that the panel members are aware of what you're referring to. You've referenced to forms. Could you just go into detail about?
So, the Teamsters have internal paperwork that we're always obligated to file whenever we are asking for strike benefits, and checking off certain boxes on that form. You need to be able to answer, yes, we've done this. So there's not a box on the form for asking for voluntary recognition, but it's kind of like something you're supposed to do. Then you file an F7, typically with public sector, even though it's not necessarily needed, but we file an F7 which is a notice of dispute form with FMCS, because the Teamsters want us to have something like that on record. We require internally extra records related to our strike authorization process, and the more of those records I can provide, the easier it is for me to get approved for strike benefits from our international union. We have a strike fund at the local union, but it's a lot of it's related to that process. So I always have the same process that I go through with every group. So that was my thinking when I did that. My understanding of the rule is that that there's no prohibition on me asking for it, because there's a freedom of expression protection in the law. The prohibition would be on the town voluntarily recognizing me if there is still an incumbent union there. And without testifying about what other people told me, it's hard for me to get into the details on that.
So probably used. So would you say you always seek voluntary recognition?
Let's see. Since it became since the CEMEX ruling came out, if I am filing, I typically ask for voluntary recognition, yes.
Even with an incumbent union?
Well, this was a first, Chris. This was the first one we've filed with an incumbent union in a while. Prior to my time, maybe. But generally speaking, we have a lot of no rate agreements with other unions. So typically I did in this case too, I'll call our joint council 10. Joint council 10 is what we're a member of, and ask them if there's any kind of a no rate agreement before I proceed, even with like chatting with a group. Once I find out who the union is.
I would ask, did you seek to see if there was a no raid in this case?
I did.
Okay, I'm going to
And-
stop. Excuse me. I just want to make sure our panel members are aware. Could you briefly describe a no rate agreement? The witness, please.
Sure, yeah.
So a no rate agreement would be an agreement between either the Teamsters Joint Council 10, of which we're a member, or occasionally the International Union, but usually it's the Teamsters Joint Council 10 and another union that would prohibit, like we're essentially voluntarily waiving our ability to ask for an election for the members that may be represented by that group. Is that enough explanation so you understand what I mean?
Yep. And when I think so. I'm seeing nods of heads. Thank you. Continue.
I would just like to enter exhibit, I'm not sure what we have it labeled as currently. I relabeled it as E, the UPSEU email.
Not until their case, right?
He should wait until then.
You can proffer
Oh,
that
I see. Yeah,
exhibit
remedy.
when it's your
Understood.
turn. Okay.
Understood.
But just to be clear, if you had a question about it for this
Could reference
witness, you can reference it without offering it.
Okay. Mr. Clough, you're familiar with the email regarding UPSEU and their denial of any affiliation with IUP.
Yes, I've seen it. You emailed it to me.
And in that email, it references a no raid with Teamsters, does it not?
It does reference a no rate agreement with what appears to be Teamsters Joint Council 16, which we're not a member of, nor are we affiliated with them, other than that they're Teamsters.
But you are in the national Teamsters organization.
Correct.
Okay. But you wouldn't abide by the agreements of Teamsters 16.
No, but we would Joint Council 10, and that's who I asked.
Going back to the voluntary recognition, you understand that voluntary recognition can't. You testified that it would be improper for the town to allow voluntary recognition when there's an incumbent bargaining unit, correct?
Yeah, I said that.
But yet you still seek voluntary recognition, even knowing that it was improper.
I don't view
Correct.
it as improper to ask really anything. I think that we have the freedom of expression under the statute.
Well, my question's a little different, right? You testified that the town could not allow voluntary recognition, but yet you still asked for voluntary recognition, knowing the town couldn't agree to it.
I didn't know the town couldn't agree to it. I didn't know if
Ju-
there still was
hold
a
on,
union that
hold on.
was actively
ju-
representing them.
You just testified that.
I'm sorry. I just want to, Mr. Hoare, I know it's difficult because, but if you ask a question and the witness is responding, you need to let them finish their answer before you ask another question. And this isn't an opportunity for a discussion or argument between the two of
Sure.
you. It's question, answer, question, answer.
I will go back to it though. Did you not testify that you knew the town could not agree to voluntary recognition?
That's not exactly what I testified.
What did you testify to?
I testified that I reached out to them because they were the ones that were going to have the knowledge of whether or not this union had actually quit their claims to the bargaining unit. So I reached out to them because they would have that information, asking them to voluntarily recognize. They did not.
I'm sure at this moment we can't go back on that record, but I'd just like to make a notation of that.
Did he freeze?
No, I'm just taking a look at my my questions. Mr. Klopp, you testified to visiting the town garage a number of times, but not necessarily a specific number. Could you provide that? Could you identify that?
Gosh. I believe, Chris, that I went there 2 times.
Okay. And after I believe you testified to after the last time, they had signed cards of interest and you took your first step of filing a petition.
Yes.
And do you recall what the date is on that first petition you filed?
If you let me look at it, I can tell it to you. It'll take me a minute to pop the evidence open.
I can pull it up for you if you'd like. If I represent to you that it was notarized on November 13th, would you agree?
That would sound legit. Yeah.
That's me looking at it right now. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You were quicker to get to it than I was.
no worries. What date did you request voluntary recognition from the municipality?
I don't remember, but I think there's an email. So I think we didn't object to the exhibit or anything. It's in the record.
Sure. If I offered to you that that occurred on November 12th, would you agree? That's me looking at it right here.
If that's when I sent them the email, I agree.
Okay. So your first step, you would say, was your voluntary recognition, correct?
I mean, my first step was talking to the workers, but as far as the filing process, I mean,
Sorry, let me clarify my question. Your first step after the last meeting you had with the employees.
I think so, Chris. I mean, they'd reached out to me at the end of a week, and I'd gone down there early in the next week.
Okay. And during your meetings with the employees, at any point in time, nobody mentioned a petition to you or having previously signed cards of interest or anything along those lines.
Am I allowed to answer the question since it's about people talking to me?
I would say that
Yes,
it's
yes, you can answer that question.
Okay. No, no one ever talked to me about a petition that had been signed by that was in place. Are you talking about like an election petition, a bargaining petition?
correct.
No, they didn't tell me
The
that there was a.
UFPO's petition
They
for the
didn't tell
bargaining.
me about the UFPO's petition. They did, however, they did. I will say this. They did tell me that they had spoken to someone else. They absolutely did.
And when you received even that information, did you take any steps to seek if by contacting the board or anybody to see if there is an active petition filed?
No, I didn't take any steps like that.
Okay. If you had known about well, let me go back. Okay. Can you explain or could you why did the Teamsters file a petition as a petitioner rather than an intervener?
I mean, I kind of went into that in my testimony. Is there a specific item of the testimony you didn't understand? We had no knowledge
It
of
was
it.
an opening statement, so I'm asking, you know.
Oh, I thought I got into it in my testimony too. We just didn't see a petition on the wall. I was there. I looked around the office. It was clearly where, a multitude of things were communicated to the members of the current, like group that works there. And it just wasn't there. Nobody said, "Oh, hey, we've got this election coming up with these guys." I mean, I guess that's so we moved forward with a regular petition.
Are you familiar with the board's rules as it relates to intervention into an election?
I mean, if you from a like an attorney would be, probably not. I mean, I've read them.
Okay. If you had seen a petition, would you have found that intervention would have been timely?
So it depends on what you mean. So like if they'd called me when they'd initially called me, they told me we had this hanging on the wall. I probably would have asked a bunch of questions about it, Chris. But you're kind of asking me to look into my crystal ball.
I'm
But yeah,
asking
I would have. I would have given them different answers to the questions, but I don't know what those answers would have been because I mean you're talking about like me looking into my crystal ball. But I would have given them different answers to questions. Absolutely.
so under board rules, section 3311, interveners. It states, if I were to represent to you that it states, such petitions shall be filed with the board within 10 days of the date the employer posted the notice of the petition pursuant to section 33.8. Would you have in that case filed would you feel that an intervention would have been timely in that case had you seen a petition posted on the board?
So, Chris, if I had, I mean, I don't have that right in front of me, the board rules. If I'd seen the petition or they told me about the petition when I initially went down there, I would have done a whole lot of things differently. But it wasn't, they didn't know about it. It wasn't on the wall. So I mean, asking me to, right now where you're asking, I think, for a speculation of facts based on if this one thing had been different and my own timelines, and if there was a petition on the wall and they really wanted an intervention, I would have said, well, we need to speed up the process. So, I mean, I think you've already gotten from us, an admission earlier that, we thought there was no petition going on. And if it's just, clearly on the facts and, the fact that it wasn't posted has no relevance, then I do agree. If the fact that there was no posting has no relevance and that the members were not informed, then I actually agree with your point, Chris. But I think that the fact that the members weren't informed and that there was no posting, it creates a situation where their free exercise was limited because I would have done things differently in a different timeline if they had really wanted to pursue.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to talk about your second petition you filed, which I actually don't have a copy of on hand. But when did you file that petition? Your last?
You mean the corrected petition?
I don't know if I'd call it that, but amended, perhaps, if that's what you're referring to.
Amended petition. I sent that to the board with my evidence. I sent that to everyone with evidence.
Do you know what date you submitted that?
Friday the 5th, I believe. I mean, I think it's on the email if I'm wrong about that, but I think it was Friday the 5th when I emailed it out.
I don't have the email. I wasn't copied on it, so I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it was Friday the 5th.
Okay.
Excuse
Were
me, the
you
5th of
aware-
what?
December.
December.
Thank you.
I probably shouldn't have clarified that. I'm sorry. Mr. Clough, were you aware that the board had already established election timelines and details before your initial filing to the board?
No, I was not, Chris.
Okay. If you were aware of that, would you say your petition was timely?
So once again, you're asking me to put the whole genie back in the bottle, and
I'm simply asking you back if you knew at that time on the 14th of November.
If the circumstances had been different, Chris, and I had walked in the room and there had been a petition hung and everything was in good order and everyone was aware, I agree with you that it would not have been timely filed.
And I apologize. Maybe it's my question, but I'm asking a slightly different question. If you had known on November 14th when you filed your initial petition that the election timelines and details had already been established, do you feel your petition was timely?
Under the rest of the facts and circumstances, because the employees were not fully aware, I do think it would have been timely because there was no posting. The employees weren't fully aware. They weren't properly noticed of things. So yeah, under the current facts and circumstances, I do think it was timely.
Regarding the Teamsters visitation to the town garage, did you request permission to visit the garage from the town?
No, I did not. Or at least I don't remember doing it.
Okay. Were any town supervisors aware of your presence at the town garage?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. would you testify that you properly notified the incumbent bargaining unit, IUP, of your petition?
We sent notice out to the address that we had.
I'm not sure that that's an answer to my question.
I don't know.
asked,
I don't
did
know.
you-
I don't know the answer to your question, Chris.
To whom did you send notice and at what address?
I think it's in one of our exhibits. I don't know if it was allowed into the record or not, but there was some information in the, I think we provided the notices.
So, looking at what you had previously filed, there's a certified mail receipt dated November 13th, 2025, sent to EPSEU, and the address is 6 Mamaroneck Avenue, Suite 400, Harrison, New York, zip code 10528. Is that the notice you're referring to?
Yes.
Thank
And that certified mail, was that return receipt? What was the outcome of that mail?
I don't know, Chris.
So would you say you don't know what the outcome of that notice was?
I would say that, yes.
Okay. Did you at any time try to contact UPSEU?
Other than that letter, no.
Did you try and contact the town in regards to getting in touch with anybody from the incumbent bargaining unit or UPSEU?
I did not. However, I will say that there was like shortly after I believe a conference that you had, I started getting emails from the VLRB, which it looked like they were included on.
Yep. Are you familiar with board certifications being posted on their website?
No, I did not know about those. Oh, certifications. Sorry.
Yes.
Certifications, yes.
Okay. Did you pull Thetford's last certification or current certification at any time?
I looked at the one that you entered into the record.
Okay, but so not prior to this conference or prior to you filing a petition?
I don't know if I looked at it prior to me filing the petition. I mean, I looked at it at some point after, definitely looked at it at some point after all the stuff blew up mid-November.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I wasn't unfamiliar with it when you sent it the other day.
You're familiar with it now, though.
I've looked at it, yeah.
It is UPSEU identified on that certification?
It is nowhere that I can see it.
Who is listed on that?
IUP.
I don't want to delve into this too much, but I mentioned it. So, bear with me. I'm trying to pull something up here. Who is Linda J. Kuchar?
That is our office manager.
Okay. Was your office manager employed by the Teamsters at the time that petition was notarized?
She was prior to that. She was that day, and she still is.
Okay, great. I'm sure she's great at her job. Would you acknowledge that notary practice requires neutral notarization?
I'm not a notary, so I can't answer that question, Chris.
Okay. When did you become aware that the board had already established election rules and schedules in response to the UFPO's timely petition?
Gosh, I was definitely heard about it at that pre-election conference. Um, it may have been in some email exchange prior to that, but definitely was aware at the pre-election conference because you brought it up.
Mhm. Do you believe the board should allow intervention at any time, even after elections have been arranged, simply because a second union appears?
For good cause, yes. I believe that the board should, for good cause, allow it.
Um, do you feel if they allowed that this it could risk election stability for employees, employers, and unions?
No,
So you don't feel that it would allow unions to disrupt elections repeatedly simply by filing at the last moment?
so, Chris, I think that in this circumstance, like I said before, when a union can show good cause, that the board should listen to that case and see if there is good cause. Um, so I think I already kind of answered that question, but I can't put the genie back in the bottle as far as what was or what wasn't in the area of public knowledge there.
Would you say this undermines the purpose of the Municipal Labor Relations Act to provide orderly and peaceful procedures?
No, because the Labor Relations Act also is meant to protect the free exercise of the employees' rights.
Just asking yes or no. I believe that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Clough, do you have anything you want to? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the town. Does the town have any questions for Mr. Clough?
Board members.
Okay, board members, any questions for Mr. Clough?
I do, Chair. Curtis, how did you find out what wall to look at, what building to visit, and how did you determine that there was no posting?
Well, so they told me where to come, the workers, when they reached out to me. They provided an address. So the wall I looked at was really just looking all around to try to find information about their union so that if they did end up filing for an election, I would know where to send it. And it's an office with, a window that looks out over where the equipment is, and then a window that looks out towards the woods behind it. There's some shelves over on the right side of the room as you're walking in, and then the left side is a bunch of bulletin boards with a bunch of different information about the town. And that was where I looked for the union information, and I did look thoroughly around the board. I didn't look at the board. I will say I did not look at that board looking specifically for an election notice, but I did look at the whole board.
Do you know if the town has another place for official postings?
I don't.
Curtis, does Teamsters have their petition posted now?
I think that the board sends out information to post. And I don't know that they've ever sent anything like that out. So I don't think there would be a petition from us now. But that's not a question I'm super qualified to answer. But I don't know that the petition is posted now for this other election.
I want to verify that from your testimony, the employees submitted interest cards to both unions.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's such a thing as that.
I don't know.
All right, Judith, did you have some questions?
I did. I wanted to kind of start. You had, I believe when you were talking about your meeting at the office, the town office, you were going over the existing contract with the employees?
Yeah, I looked at the duration clause because they were,
Okay,
to answer that, I'm going to have to talk to you about what they were asking me about.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know. So you had a copy of the existing contract
It
prior
was
to
sitting there.
filing? Okay,
I
great.
did not have a copy. That was their copy.
Okay. And was the copy what the UFPO has filed, and you had stipulated to the admission of Exhibit F, which is the agreement by and between the town of Thetford, Vermont, and the International Union of Public Employees, Local 802, Public Works Employees, January 1st, 2021 through December 30th, 2025? Was it that contract?
I don't have any reason to believe it's different.
Okay, so when you were taking pictures or looking for information about the existing union, did you take a picture of the contract or the cover sheet for the contract?
I don't think I did.
Okay. So at some time before you filed the petition, you were aware of the name of the existing union, incumbent union?
Local 802, yeah.
Okay, thanks. You had sent the notice of your original, I'm going to say November 14th, because that's when the board received a copy of the November 14th petition to, let me just find it.
Number 6.
EPSEU. Is that correct?
Yes.
What does that acronym stand for?
That was a typo, but it was supposed to be, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but Chris has an email from them in the record that
Okay.
he's attempting to admit into evidence, but it's like, I don't know what the acronym stands for off the top of my head. But it is a
Okay.
labor union.
Okay, so when you submitted your exhibits, you included the certified mail receipt, but you also included the return to sender that you received on that mailing.
Yes.
Okay, so what you have submitted as Exhibit 6, it says return to sender, no mail receptacle, unable to forward, return to sender. What did you do in response to receiving that return to sender?
The town of Thetford was already aware.
No, this is in connection with the EPSEU mailing.
I didn't realize that was I didn't realize that was them. I thought that was the town of Thetford.
Yeah, it's on the back page of your certified mail receipt. to EPSCU. Did you receive a return to sender message for EPSCU?
Not that I'm aware of. That letter, that envelope went to the town of Thetford.
Okay. All right. So it's not connected with the EPSCU. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. I just had a couple of others. What is the relationship between chauffeurs, Teamsters, warehousemen, and helpers union number 597 and Teamsters Joint Council 16?
I guess we're all in the same international union. We are a member of Teamsters Joint Council 10, and we're affiliated with Teamsters Joint Council 10, but I don't know much of anything about Teamsters Joint Council 16.
And maybe you can kind of explain the organizational chart or hierarchy for me. What does affiliation with a specific joint council mean?
So what a joint council is there are all the unions are in a specific area, like a geographical area, will affiliate together for a few purposes that are performed under our Teamster Constitution. Like if somebody were to be brought up on our internal union charges and were to be, found like that they'd violated our Constitution, the joint council would hear their appeals. They're kind of an umbrella organization that helps with organizing or whatever else the joint council decides to help with. Each of them are different. They help with negotiating larger contracts that are meant to be like the UPS contract. We negotiate our supplemental agreement with UPS at a joint council level before it's ratified. So they perform services like that. All Teamster locals have to be a member of one particular joint council. And then the structure above that joint council is either the region or the international union, depending on what the issue is. So for like certain contracts, some of them are handled by the region. And then for certain issues like charges and appeals, the next step after the joint council is to the international. Does that give you enough information?
I think so.
Yeah. My question is, at the joint council, it's only Teamster locals that are members of the joint council, correct?
It's only Teamster members that are local, Teamster locals that are members of our joint council 10, yes.
Yeah. And earlier in your testimony, the issue of Council 16 came up because I think, if I understood it, they had some agreements with some other unions about protocol and procedure related to those unions when they get involved. I think I heard the words no raid and stuff like that. Is that correct? So
yes. Yep.
So Council 10 does the same thing with probably unions in their area?
Joint Council 10 does have some specific agreements that are only for Joint Council 10. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Have you ever have you ever honored a no raid agreement brought by another joint council?
I haven't, but I don't think the issue has ever been put in front of me either. So
Just give me, I'm just going to check my notes. So the subsequent petition that you filed to correct the identity of the, oh no, that's not it. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So when you submitted your exhibits on 12/5/25, you included a new petition to correct the identity of the incumbent union. You identified the incumbent union as IUPE/UPSEU, correct? Is that correct?
Mhm.
And as part of that, you included a new, your 4-page petition included the notary page. Is that correct?
I only corrected the third page.
Okay.
Everything
you
else was the
submit-
same. Everything else was the same. I corrected what you guys had asked me to correct, but everything else was the same.
Okay, so you did not submit a new notary form to indicate the accuracy of the information contained in the corrected form. Is that correct?
I did not.
Okay, so the notary form we have on that document dated November 13th, 2025 does not correspond to the accuracy of the information contained in the corrected petition, which you included as Exhibit 3. Is that correct?
Yep.
Would you be referring to the exhibit numbers?
Okay, so I'm referring to Exhibit number 3. The corrected information that you included in Exhibit 3 does not correspond to the notary acknowledgement on page 4 of that document.
It doesn't. I only corrected the page.
Strike that. So you've indicated, I think in response to a question from UFPO, that for good cause, the board can allow an intervening union to be placed on the ballot even after a conference was held to schedule the upcoming election. Is that correct?
That sounds like what I was saying. Yep.
Okay. And just so that we're clear, what is the good cause that you're asserting in this case?
So the good cause that I'm asserting is first and foremost that, we do have a significant showing of interest. Secondly, that and I don't claim it's malicious, but the failure of the town to properly notice the election, so that the workers were notified, created a situation where no one knew of processes that were ongoing and no one was able to properly respond to certain timelines, because no one but UFPO, the board, and I guess the town management, understood what the timelines were, but the workers didn't understand what the timelines were. So those two items, I think are good cause.
And I just wanted to make sure I understood your contract bar position. At the time that you filed your November 14th, 2025 petition, which our board members have under tab 7 of their packet, that was beyond the 60 to 90 day filing period. Is that correct?
That was outside of that filing period, correct?
So even if the UFPO had not filed their petition prior to Teamsters filing a petition, the Teamsters petition would have been filed outside the 60 to 90 day filing period.
So my understanding of board precedent is that after the third year of the contract, and I'll cite these in our brief, and I cited them in my opening. My understanding of the board precedent is that once
Well,
the
I
con,
just, that's your explanation. I just want to get the facts and then you can continue that. I just want to get that it was outside that period. Is that correct?
I agree with that. I totally
Okay.
agree with that. Yep.
All right. Okay. Now, I'm sorry. Continue your statement. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to get that clarified.
So our understanding of board precedent was that once a contract has gone 3 years, there is not the same contract bar that would be in place in the initial 3 years. And there are board rulings over a long period of time that, go to the same, end up at the same place.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No, he can respond to this, right?
Yeah, if he has anything.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Clough, you now can respond to all the stuff that's been brought up since you made your preliminary or your testimony.
You guys haven't really been cutting me off. I don't think I have anything more to add. Nobody's been stopping me from answering questions with detail.
Okay. And he doesn't get a chance now because there's no redirect.
Well, we asked questions. So
Okay. And Mr. Hoare, do you have anything that these further inquiries have created a question for you?
If I could take just 2 minutes just to review some of my notes real quick, that'd be appreciated.
I was planning.
I do have a couple basic follow-up questions, mainly due to not necessarily maybe understanding the line of questioning. But Mr. Clubb, do you have any long-standing or existing relationship with the bargaining unit in discussion here, the Thetford DPW?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Are you
and there
asking
was
like if I know people outside of,
just a professional relationship, just as the Teamsters have any, okay. Regarding the Teamsters amended petition, I think regarding the Teamsters amended petition, it's not a brand new petition. This is more of a clarification, sorry. It wasn't a brand new drafted petition. It was just that one page was corrected and then resubmitted.
we corrected the page the typo that I'd been asked to
Okay.
correct. Yep.
I don't know that I didn't understand that necessarily through the line of questioning. So I appreciate that clarification. Regarding the return receipt, it looks like you received a return receipt of undeliverable regarding the notice you sent to the town of Thetford regarding your petition. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you receive anything as it relates to your notice, receive anything back regarding of similar nature or different nature regarding your notice to UPSEU?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I haven't gotten a return certified letter yet. No.
Okay. In not having received anything from them, but receiving something from the town, that didn't necessarily spark you to seek contact with UPSEU any further than what you had already done.
No, after the conference that we had, in November, it seemed like everybody was clear that the IUPE was part of it. I wasn't quite sure where 802 went, whether they did affiliate with UPSE or what they did, but I didn't
Yeah, I guess my
reach back
question
out to
is
them after
just
the
very,
letter.
yeah, my question is just very simple as not receiving anything him back at this time hasn't necessarily sparked you to try and or continue other alternative avenues.
Nope.
Okay. And you had mentioned well, okay. No, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further, board? Does the board have any other questions at this time?
No, Chair.
Thank you. We're going to take a break before we move to the UFPO's case. All right, and so we're adjourning for a moment. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you, Mr. Clough, if that's your case and if you're resting the case at the moment.
I'm not an attorney, so I wouldn't be allowed to ask anybody any questions unless it was part of their case, correct? Because otherwise, yes, I'm resting.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take a 10-minute adjournment here. Like the characters on the screen are here.
Brett, I've started recording.
Should I ask if the town's back? Is the town manager present? Not getting a response.
I'm going to ask the board clerk if we can reach out to him, but I think we can get started.
Okay. It is now the UFPO's case. So you may proceed, Mr. Hoare. Oh, wait a minute. Let me swear you in. Hold on. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the pains of penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, I've got to read this next one because we're on video. Unless directed by me as the Labor Relations Board chairperson, when you are testifying, there should be no one else in the room with you, and there should be no one in your location able to overhear your testimony. You may not consult with anyone during testimony. You should have access to the exhibit about which you will be testifying. You should not look at or make reference to notes or any other documents or materials other than the exhibit to which you are testifying, unless allowed to do so by the board. Any devices used by you when testifying should only be used to view the exhibit to which you are testifying. You may proceed now.
I do have a few just procedural questions just to ask before I start. Does the board have any issue with me looking at pre-written questions that I have listed out for myself and others?
No.
You can use it, as an outline. Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. Yeah. I have the ability to call witnesses, correct?
Well, and I wanted to clarify something Mr. Clough said as we were leaving. He could call other witnesses, Mr. Clough. What couldn't happen is your colleague, who's also a Teamster representative, could not ask you questions, but you could ask or call other people if you would like. So I wanted to clarify that. And now, does that change anything, Mr. Clough, if you wanted to call somebody or ask them questions?
If I was allowed to ask questions, I was going to ask Brian Story to testify.
Okay.
I'm fine with that taking place first.
Well, we don't have him here.
He's We don't see his face. He's having some camera issues. So I want to, Mr. Story, are you with us? If you can unmute. Okay.
I'm assuming he's logging back in.
Yeah, he's logging out and logging back in.
Okay, so we're going to give him a moment.
Just procedurally, would it be? I'm fine with Mr. Clough asking the town questions prior to my case. I was
Yeah,
going to
no,
ask
that's-
that the town be my first witness anyways. So
Yep. I think everyone's eager to have the town testify, Mr. Story testify. So if Mr. Clough wants to be the person that to get the ball rolling.
I think we all want the same, I'm going to guess there's a lot of the same information we're after.
So I think he just entered the meeting again. We're not seeing his picture. Mr. Story, can you hear us and can you talk to us? It looks like you're muted right now. Mr. Story, if you're here, we see that you're in the meeting, but you're muted. And you're saying you have video camera problems, but can you unmute yourself?
looks like he just unmuted himself.
He just sent a message in chat that says, I can hear
Yeah.
again, but I'm still having trouble with my camera and mic.
Yeah, and now, Mr. Story, you no longer have a muted mic next to you.
I messaged him to try again from another device, so hopefully that solves the issue. You're muted, Judith, just so you're aware.
Thanks. We see his response, and hopefully he'll be back momentarily. Thanks, Brett. What we could do is kind of take things out of order and have Mr. Hoare start. And as soon as we see Mr. Story appear, we're going to jump back to him because we don't want to lose him. Okay, so how does that sound to folk?
Okay. Mr. Hoare. parts of your case that are not related to the town manager.
No, I mean, you can give your what you your case.
Yeah.
I'm just on a chair that rolls and it's rolling away from me right now. Let's see. So my name for the record is Christopher Hoare. I'm current state labor representative for the United Federation of Police Officers. I have been in the Vermont labor movement for approximately close to 15 years now, having served in various capacities, both local president, executive board member of a union, a large union, and labor representative in multiple states, and including Vermont. My roles and responsibilities vary, anything from organizational, leadership to fiscal responsibilities to drafting, filing petitions, grievances, etc. Sitting second seat in hearings, arbitrations, and other various forums. I drafted the UFPO's petition, which was filed to the Labor Relations Board on October 8th, 2025. It was submitted in person to the Labor Board. It was notarized by the city clerk here in the city of Montpelier. It was also followed up with an email to the board, and it was actually mailed multiple times to the other parties involved, as called for. My understanding for the next steps are pretty standard. I've filed many petitions with the board over the years, and have numerous active petitions with the board currently. My understanding of the procedure would be to, go through the unit determination, which we did, parties, identifying the bargaining unit members, establishing election procedures between the parties, which at the time took place on November 14th rather, 2025, and involved the UFPO, the town of Thetford, and the board. At that, we established election timelines and procedures, and at that time on November 14th, 2025 is when I think all parties, well, rather the board and the UFPO were made aware of the Teamsters attempt to voluntarily recognize through the town. And it was Manager Story who brought that information to us. My interpretation was confusion, but we can have the manager testify to that later.
Do you want to pause now and let the Mr. Clough call Mr. Story and do that part of the case, and then you can continue?
Sure, I have no issue with that. Let me just make a notation as to where I'm ending, and yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Mr. Clough had wished to call as a witness the town manager, Mr. Story. But due to technical issues, Mr. Story wasn't available at the time. So I turn the case back to you, Mr. Clough.
Yeah, I would like to call Brian Story, town manager at Thetford.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to administer the oath. Mr. Story, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the pains or penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Because we're on video, unless directed by me as the Labor Relations Board chairperson, when you are testifying, there should be no one else in the room with you, and there should be no one in your location able to overhear your testimony. You may not consult with anyone during testimony. You should have access to the exhibits about which you will be testifying. You should not look at or make reference to notes other than the documents or materials other than the exhibit to which you are testifying unless allowed to do so by the board. Any devices used by you when testifying should only be used to view the exhibit to which you are testifying. Mr. Clough, you may proceed.
Thank you. Can you please let us know what your job is there for the town and what your duties are?
Sure. I'm the town manager for Thetford. My duties are pretty wide and varied, but I oversee the regular operations of the town and carry out the policies and priorities set by the select board.
And how long have you been in that position doing that?
I started in the summer of 2023.
Okay. Are you familiar with the it's part of the record, the posting that was sent to you in relation to the UFPO petition?
I am.
Can you describe what you did with that posting for us?
Sure. I guess tell me if I'm going too far, but setting the stage a little bit, we had known that our bargaining agreement was ending this year in an interest of trying to set my budget and everything for the next year. I've been trying to move the process ahead of starting negotiations as soon as we possibly could. When we received notice that the union representation was going to have to change, that became a concern, knowing that was going to set back our start date even farther. So when I received notice about UFPO and their petition, I went over to the town garage and spoke to the members that were present at the time, saying that we had received the petition and their paperwork for representation by UFPO. I think conversationally referred to it as Sean's organization, that Sean Donovan had been their representative for their prior union before the change to UFPO. They said that was fine. You know, I encouraged them that I wanted to set dates as soon as possible, notified them that this was, they said I notified them about that we received it, offered them the email or the petition, and that was it. Again, we're a relatively small organization. I didn't speak to all the members. Not all the members were present at that time, but I believe the majority of them were. And I don't believe that anybody was unaware of the conversations that were ongoing with UFPO. I did not post it. I treated it much too casually. Again, under the belief that everybody present, everybody in the organization would know what was going on, even if we weren't intimately familiar with the process. That's really it for that moment. I don't want to go too far, so I'll let you ask another question, Curtis, if that's.
Thank you. Do you remember who was there when you discussed this?
I spoke to our members and they don't recall either. I can tell you for certain that what did not include Dale Lewis, the foreman, or Rocky, the prior shop steward under the prior union. I know that they were not there. That would have been a little more memorable.
So, did you ever end up posting it?
No.
When you have like routine communications with the workers that you want them to be able to refer to, what's your normal practice?
Our normal practice has been meeting with them to discuss things in person, and if there's any paperwork or anything, passing it on to them.
Would you do that personally, or would you delegate that to somebody else?
Depends on the situation. I try to do that personally as much as I can. It is certainly not unusual for me to go. The garage is just across the street from my office, and I go over there kind of as often as I can to. If I don't make a point of going over there, it's easy to kind of lose touch. So I do it in person as much as possible.
What type of things do you typically post on the bulletin boards in there?
Typically, it's routine safety information, updates on different statutes, different laws. We don't have a lot of new information that goes up there that often.
So earlier in your testimony, you mentioned that you were engaging in negotiations. Were any of the workers that were included in the group present for any of those negotiations?
Point of clarification, I was seeking to begin negotiations, but we hadn't actually started any of the negotiations yet. In pursuing to start the negotiations was when it came to light that they were going to have to seek new representation, and that's when kind of these next few steps started.
Since the conference in November, at that time, or after that, did you ever hang the posting?
Say again?
In the time since the conference in November, with a few parties, Chris, myself, you, Judith, did you hang the posting?
I did not. I went back over to the garage. We spoke about everything. Kind of gave them a status update and the timeline of when this was going on, when this meeting was coming up. I suppose I should have sought clarification on that. I thought the point was rather moot now.
Did you understand after that conference that these were supposed to be posted?
Yes.
I don't have any more questions for Town Manager Story.
Okay, Mr. Hoare, do you have any questions?
Yes, so I have a couple of follow-up questions. Manager Story, thanks for being in here and participating. When did you first become aware that the Teamsters were attempting to organize the bargaining unit?
the first time I became officially aware was the email that I received a couple days before our conference scheduling the election. The email that's, I don't recall the exhibit number, but it was the request for voluntary recognition. I had been informed before that the members had reached out to the Teamsters, but I was not party to their communications. It wasn't any kind of official notification. It was, I don't recall if that was Rocky or Dale, but one of the members had mentioned to me that they were also going to talk to the Teamsters.
Okay. And you don't know who that is?
I don't recall specifically. Like I said, it was not really a formal conversation. It was just.
Sure, that's understood. Thank you. When did the town communicate this information to the board and the original petitioner, the UFPO?
That was at our November hearing scheduling the election. I had received that notice, I believe it was 2 days before the that hearing, and knowing that I had a hearing coming up with Judith, I thought I'd have an opportunity to ask for clarification and provide what notice I had about the situation to the labor board at that time.
Yep, understood. Did the town provide any guidance, documents, or employee access to the Teamsters prior to or after learning of their intent to organize the bargaining unit?
Not the town. We wouldn't have provided or denied access just like we did or didn't do with the UFPO.
Well, do you know if the UFPO ever accessed the town garage?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. You make reference to, you said something interesting. You just testified to Sean's union. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Sure. Sean McCurdle, representative for the UFPO, was before that representative for the, I'm sorry, I'm going to get the abbreviation wrong, but the IUPE.
Nailed
But
it.
the prior union, Sean had been a representative for that, so I was familiar with Sean, and so was the crew, the employees.
Yep. Okay, I appreciate that. How long had you had a professional working relationship with Sean?
Pretty much the entire time I started here. Not long after I started in 2023, we negotiated a memorandum of understanding for both the police union and the public works for small pay increases for both.
Okay. How would you describe your working relationship with Sean over the years?
Perfectly professional. I don't think I ever spoke to Sean outside of how it related to a contract, but we had a perfectly amicable relationship.
Okay. Did you ever receive any indication that the bargaining unit ever had any issues with Sean?
No, but they wouldn't have. It would have been highly unusual for them to share something like that with me.
Yep, not. At the beginning of October, you were aware of, you made statement that that everybody was aware and knew about the petition of the UFPO.
I believe so. I will say that both myself and the members of the crew are very likely to be less familiar with the process.
Sure.
That's definitely true of myself. So
Yeah, I'm more referring to just knowledge of, just aware of the petition, not necessarily the nuances of the procedure, so on and so forth.
yeah,
If they knew that, there would probably be no need for me. So, so you would say that they did, they were aware.
yes, in broad terms. Yes.
Yep. And were any issues brought to your attention?
No. Again, that's
Just a basic, just a simple question.
Yeah.
You said you spoke to the members after receiving the original petition. You referenced being a small organization and that there was a majority of the people there. But you do stress that the foreman wasn't there and Rocky, the prior shop steward, wasn't there.
correct.
And again, small, right? There's only 3 other individuals in the unit. Can you, when you recall, could you say that there were at least 3 people at that?
I believe that there were 3 people there. Like I said, the members, I did speak to them after the hearing in advance of this meeting, asking specifically if the members that I believe were there, Colleen Branderas, Dennis Streeter, and Rich Neal, asking them if they remembered that conversation, and they did not.
Okay. And after the November 14th election conference, I would call it, you state that you followed up with them again. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So just sort of reiterating this line of questioning, people were aware of the election, the petition, as well as the election details discussed throughout this process.
I would say so. That I do my best to keep them informed about this, especially when it comes to union and labor relations, because again, this is as much as possible their business, not ours.
And I'll ask another question too that just kind of spurred another question is, how would you say your relationship is with the bargaining unit?
I think quite good.
Okay.
Oh,
I appreciate that. I'm just gonna peruse through some line of questionings that I have. What do you feel the intent of the Teamsters seeking voluntary recognition was?
that's really hard for me to read into their intent. I did not take it as, I guess I can say how I read it was just possibly being a little bit less familiar with the process. I didn't ascribe anything malicious or an end run around the process. I just saw it as maybe they're not too familiar with how this goes. Like I said, I'm not either, so I was planning to ask Judith questions about how to handle that and how to proceed at our meeting.
Okay. Thank you. When did the town receive a copy of the Teamsters petition?
I'm sorry, I can't really say without going into my email and other notes.
Do you know
Yeah,
who sent it to you?
If you need to look at something to refresh your recollection, you may do so.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Give me a minute here, Chris.
Sure, absolutely. Take your time.
Looks like I've got something on November 14th. A conversation that started on November 14th. And it looks like the petitions that I received then were from Judith, who I imagine that's kind of the normal routing or something like that.
Would you testify that you received that petition after the election conference that was between the
Yes.
UFPO, the board, and the town?
That's true.
Did the town receive any amended petitions from the Teamsters?
Yes. Let's see. I'm not positive if I received that outside of the exhibits getting ready for this hearing, but I do recall from the first meeting that we had with the Teamsters and UFPO and the labor board, Judith. Judith had made the request to the Teamsters to update and make a couple corrections to that, and so I was expecting it, and I didn't really think anything unusual about that in advance of this meeting. I didn't think anything was. I wasn't anticipating any movement until this hearing had reached a conclusion.
Thank you. It's more of a procedural question. So,
Sure.
did the town ever notify IUP of the Teamsters' attempts to file a petition or voluntarily recognize the bargaining unit?
No, I don't believe so. We were in touch with them lightly before that with regards to the UFPO, and they weren't terribly responsive, and had really indicated that they were, given that this was a change in their model, that they weren't really too interested in participating in the process, that they had kind of already moved on with their pursuits.
And when you're referring to they, you're referring to IUP?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Do you know of any other individual that works for IUP anymore?
I don't recall the gentleman's name, but our police union is still represented by them, and not by the public employees part of that, but the Police Benevolent Association part of the union.
The New England Police Benevolent Association, is that correct?
Thank you. Yes, that's correct. And I'm not familiar with their relationship between the two organizations.
Sure, sure. Has the town ever had any communication with the organization UPSEU?
UPSEU, I don't believe so.
Is, to your recollection, is UPSEU referenced in the current collective bargaining agreement in any way, shape, or form?
Can you tell me what UPSEU stands for?
Sure.
I don't recall them.
UPSEU stands for United Public Service Employees Union.
No, I don't recall that in the.
Okay. In your time with the town, have you ever had any knowledge of UPSEU, an affiliation, dealings with, or anything along those lines that you can reference?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. Be another moment where I wouldn't mind checking my notes if I can.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if the board does. But
Yeah,
please, by all means.
Board has no problem.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, I appreciate it. No, I'm not seeing anything come up for that abbreviation. I don't believe that we've had any contact with them.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna just ask a couple of last questions, and I'll rest. Being in this process now, Manager Story, do you feel that labor elections should remain open to intervene even after election rules are established? As in this case.
Objection. That's not a question. It's for the board to determine.
Just in rebuttal to that, I asked the Teamsters the same question and they answered it.
You're muted.
It is on it, right? I sustain the objection.
That means I'm not answering the question, correct? I just want to.
That's correct.
Manager Story, in this process that you've been a part of, do you feel that it shows a level of stability for the employees, the employer, and the other unions as it relates to the untimely intervention and the extenuation of this process?
I'll answer that with a little bit of a caveat that I also had a hand in this, but this process has not been as smooth as we would like. I very much had a hand in that with treating the process too casually at the beginning, but it has been difficult to navigate and not as fast as we or the members would like, but that can't be helped at this stage.
I appreciate you taking your portion of responsibility in this, but I would also follow up in just reiterating that you did testify that you spoke to the members on multiple occasions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I rest.
All right, are there any questions from the board of the witness?
I do, Chair. Brian, I haven't seen a total listing of the number of employees in, for the town, specifically the ones who would be eligible or union members. Can you tell me, we've seen the interest cards and that number's in 5 or 6. What is the total number of union eligible employees in your DPW unit?
There's a little wrinkle in that, but there are 5 members in our DPW crew. One of them is a working foreman who had not been in the prior union, and he has expressed an interest in joining. So we're looking at what adjustments we might need to make to his job description to make him eligible, and whether that's something we can work with or not.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
I also have a question.
Okay,
When-
Gwenna?
When the employees came to you and told you that they had reached out to the Teamsters and you were already aware of talking to UFPO, what was your response to them?
Pretty, I don't recall specifically, but it would have been pretty non-committal. I know that what I expected the process to be was that I had expected there to be an election at some point where they would have to decide between the two of them. It didn't strike me as unusual that they might be in conversation with more than one group that might represent them.
Did you remind them that at that time that you were already talking to UFPO?
I don't recall specifically, but probably not.
Thank you.
Okay, Judith, do you have any questions?
I'm sure. Going back to your first meeting with the employees, the members of the unit, you said did you bring the petition with you to that meeting?
I did.
Did you present it to the folks at that meeting?
I believe so.
Did anyone review the petition?
I don't believe so. I think that it was, I handed over the paper and we talked. We were much more interested in the conversation than the paper.
Okay, so what did you say at that meeting?
That we had received notice that they had filed their cards of interest, and that the process was moving ahead with UFPO. That, that was what we understood the process to be, and frankly, I transitioned the conversation pretty quickly to trying to schedule meetings. That, as soon as they had representation in place, that I wanted to move on with negotiations. And my personal focus was very much on my budget and trying to get this work done as early as possible.
Okay, without telling me what people might have said, did any of the members with whom you met have any questions about the petition or its filing or UFPO?
No.
And how long was your conversation with members about the UFPO filing?
Fairly short. I don't recall specifically, but I would say 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay. Did you ever receive a copy of the Teamsters petition from the Teamsters? You testified earlier that I, in my capacity as executive director, provided you with a copy of the Teamsters petition, but have you ever received a copy from the Teamsters themselves?
Don't believe so. If I can take a minute to look at my notes again, I'll do so to be a little more certain.
Thank you.
No, I don't believe I did outside of the exhibits for this hearing.
And that was on or about December 5th, last Friday?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Clough, do you have any follow-up?
I do. So earlier you testified earlier in this process about one of the potential bargaining unit members and your concern that they are a supervisor. Did you raise any of these concerns at any time earlier in the process?
I don't recall how early in the process, but we had a conversation with that member and reminding them that they weren't in the bargaining unit previously and that we were going to have to investigate what it would take to make them eligible. But that we were willing to do so.
Is it the town's position that they are currently a supervisory employee?
Yes.
I'm going to object to that.
You
Mainly,
can, if I'm going to just pause.
All right, what's the basis of the objection?
I think the relevance of it, mainly because we've gone through the unit determination. There's a significant difference between a supervisor and a supervisory employee. We've gone through the unit determination process already. Both petitions, whether they're appropriate or not, all list the foreman on there. I don't believe there's any issue amongst any of the parties on whether or not the foreman is appropriate or should be in the bargaining unit, which is, I believe, where that questioning is coming from.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Thank you.
See how it's wrong.
So earlier in your testimony, and you just answered some questions for Judith about speaking with members, I wasn't quite clear. When you went back to them, was it your testimony that they didn't remember having that earlier conversation?
They remembered having the conversation. They didn't remember a lot of the specifics about it. Like I said, it was a relatively short and kind of inconsequential meeting, a discussion that we had about this. They knew that they had talked to the UFPO. They knew that a conversation had happened and that they filed the cards of interest, and that things were just progressing. They did not take. They didn't seem to take any greater interest in it than I did. Didn't have a lot of specific recollection, but they knew that I had been over and that and that they had had some talk and some progression with UFPO.
you spoke earlier about your interactions with UP, and that they told you they were not interested in participating in the process. And I just wondered which process you meant, collective bargaining with the town or the election process?
I want to object to that just
Yeah, I got that.
substantively.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Okay. My objection was only that he's putting words in the town manager's mouth as far as his prior testimony.
I can rephrase the question if that'll help.
That would be better, I believe. Thank you.
What process was IUP not interested in participating in?
In
I'm
representing
not trying to prolong
the,
this.
oh, I'm sorry, was the,
No, I'm sorry.
in representing our membership, our employees. We didn't get to, I didn't have a very specific conversation with them about what they would and wouldn't participate in the remainder of the process, but they did indicate that they were not representing our employees anymore, and they said that they were moving on in their organization. But specifics, we really didn't get into.
Do you remember about when they notified you of that?
Not offhand. That's another one I'd have to go to check my notes for, but some time ago when we were seeking some clarification from them about, when we first heard about the UFPO and was when they had kind of indicated that they were moving on.
You mentioned somebody earlier named Sean McGurkle, and how he negotiated. Was he negotiating on behalf of both bargaining units at the time?
At the time he was.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can we just for clarification, and when you say both bargaining units, just identify those two bargaining units again.
Sorry, the police officers bargaining unit and the DPW bargaining unit were the two I was referring to in the question.
That's correct. The NEPBA and the IUPE. I'm getting all my acronyms right.
Thank you.
Those are all the questions I had.
Okay, Mr. Hoare, any follow-up?
I do have some, and I will try to be quick and diligent with this. Manager Story, you've mentioned and referenced negotiations a number of times. Do you feel that the negotiations process is important to the relationship between the town and the employees?
Yes, I do.
And timeliness of that is important, correct? As it
Yes.
relates to the harmony of the municipality and employees.
Harmony might not be exactly how I'd characterize it. I don't really think that we're going to, it's a little bit disruptive on my end and setting the budget for the town that we haven't been able to do negotiations yet, but that harmony in terms of cooperation and our relationship with our employees, it's not going to have any impact on that. There's nothing that they've done to kind of stretch this process out, and we're not going to hold them responsible.
Well, and again, I'm not talking particularly about your relationship with the employees. There are a lot of different aspects in processes that take place in the harmonious relationship between both the municipality, the employees, and the bargaining unit, the exclusive bargaining agent. Is that correct?
Correct. I would say that in a more abstract sense that yes, timeliness is a pretty important factor.
Okay, thank you. And then again, I just want to reiterate that at no point did any employees within the bargaining unit or even propose additions to the bargaining unit ever raise any concerns or issues with UFPO or their chronic relationship with Sean.
No, again, I'll reiterate though that it would be highly unusual for them to share something like that with me. That's not the
Sure.
kind of information that I would seek or ask for.
No, correct, right. And just as the last line is, you do have two bargaining units, correct, within the town of Thetford. The police department, which is currently represented by the New England Police Benevolent Association, and the town highway department, which is currently represented by IUP, correct?
Correct.
And Sean McArdle was the rep for both of those units, correct?
At least during up until recently, yes, he was.
Correct.
I don't know when he started or the whole history there, but
And of those two units, how many of those units are looking to be shown interest in being represented by Sean McArdle in the UFPO?
just our DPW department.
Just the DPW, correct? And just to clarify, the police department's bargaining unit represented by the NEPBA has not seeked to be represented by Sean McArdle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, board members,
No question.
any addition? All right, Judith, any further?
No, thank
Okay. All right, so we had departed from the procedure to allow Mr. Clough to call his witness and do that. Mr. Hoare, you still have more in your case to present?
I do.
Then we'll move on and hear the rest of the case. The witness is excused. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm just pivoting back to where I was in my. The last where I left off, I believe I was talking primarily about the initial knowledge of the Teamsters filing of petition. The first I had found out about that was as other testimony has already indicated, was on November 14th in the election conference hearing. It was brought to my attention by Manager Story, as well as to the board's attention at that time. And just to, I had not received any information regarding the Teamsters actively visiting the town garage either. I believe the UFPO specifically was not sorry, I got distracted there from someone's video, but did not actively go to the town premises due to, we didn't want to set up any sort of impartiality or like unfair labor practices from the incumbent bargaining unit, or jeopardize the petition and election process in and of itself. When I first received a copy of the Teamsters petition, there were a number of irregularities with it in my experience. One being it appeared to be filed as a petitioner. It did appear that the 51% card checkoff process was being sought, and it did reflect, in my knowledge, in through the current process that we have all already had been a part of, the incorrect incumbent bargaining unit. I did reach out to UPSEU via phone. I did have a conversation with an administrator there, and I did request confirmation of that, which they sent to me shortly thereafter via email, which I'd like to enter as an exhibit. I have it as E. It may be different to the board, but the UPSEU email.
Any objection to the admission of that exhibit? You're muted.
I'd like to object to the relevance.
And just for clarification, I just in terms of identification of it, we have it as Exhibit K.
Oh, I had listed it as K. I wasn't sure if we reordered it because I had taken other.
Yeah.
We had agreed to things being on the record already. So the board's record. Okay.
Yep. So it's still called K in our
Exhibit K. Thank you. I feel that it's relevant because the Teamsters is claiming that UPSEU was the incumbent or is the incumbent. I'm not even completely sure at this moment in time, and they're not. And the UFPO did their due diligence to make sure that the incumbent was in fact notified and actively part of the process. Which was also a request from the board. So
we'll admit the exhibit as Exhibit K.
thank you. Some other issues that I had seen in the petition was the notary, which I referenced in my introductory statements. And then just clarifying too that I at this time have never received any petition that or amended petition that the Teamsters issued as it relates to this election process to date.
Just to be clear, Mr. Hoare, anything that you said in your opening statement, that's not testimony, those will not be facts that the board can rely on. So if you said something in your opening statement and you don't say it now, the board will not be considering it.
Okay. I guess I'm just stating it now that the UFPO has not received a petition, an amended petition, or anything along those sorts from the second petitioner or intervener. I guess they're an intervener now in the process. When again, I received a copy of the initial petition from the board, and I immediately felt that it was kind of untimely for a multitude of reasons, both as an intervener and as primarily as an intervener. It also was received after the election. Details, rules, and timelines were already discussed between the UFPO, the town, and the board. I do feel as though there was conduct that lends to unfair labor practices, primarily one being the voluntary recognition request by the Teamsters to the town. Just to put it on the record, that conduct, as well as the active visiting of the town garage, is contrary to 21 VSA 1726A2, putting the petitioner at a significant disadvantage. And again, I think this has significantly interrupted, I think, the nature of the Municipal Employee Labor Relations Act as far as a peaceful, fair, not necessarily equal, but fair process. So, and I'll rest.
Okay, Mr. Clough, do you have any questions of the witness?
I do. I have a few questions. So, Chris, did anyone ever tell you or anyone else from the UFPO that they were not allowed to visit the employees?
It's pretty common practice as a petitioning, to not enter spaces or receive any unfair favor against the incumbent bargaining unit.
Did anyone ever tell the UFPO that they couldn't enter the premises and meet with the members?
Nope.
Did anyone ever, to your knowledge, did anyone ever tell that to IUPE?
I couldn't possibly testify to that.
Next question. Has UFPO ever sent a copy of their petition to the Teamsters? Other than when they submitted evidence?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
I really think those are the only questions I have for Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members?
I don't.
Okay, any follow-up on, oh, Judith?
No.
No, I do not. anything from those questions, Mr. Hoare, that you want to clarify?
Yeah, the only thing that I would clarify is, as the original petitioner, I don't believe that there's any obligation for the petitioning union to provide an original copy of the petition to an intervener, whereas an intervener should provide a copy of their petition to all parties of the ongoing petition and election process.
And Mr. Hoare, do you rest now, or do you have any other witnesses?
I don't. I can rest. Thank you.
We give the town a chance. Does the town have any case, anything to offer, I guess, or questions or anything?
No, we don't.
Okay. I think that concludes the evidence portion of this hearing. Next steps, Judith?
Yeah, so for briefing, I think, Mr. Clough, you referenced briefing. I would, just because this is in the context of an election, we'd like to move this along as soon as possible. Ideally, any briefing that you submit should be done within 5 business days, so a week. Is that something that the parties can do if they want to submit briefing?
That was my understanding already, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so any briefing will be due a week from today. My calendar out. Which is the 18th, December 18th. So, and the board will then endeavor to have an order out. We have 5 days after that, but I'm going to say by the 29th of December. But hopefully it'll be before Christmas. Hopefully we'll be able to get something out the first before the 24th. So any other questions or issues that the parties may have at this time? Okay.
Okay.
If the board members could stay on, that would be great. But everyone else, if you can exit, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Happy holidays.
Okay.
I stopped
it's ju-
recording as well, Judith.
Okay, thanks. I'm just gonna make sure I'm stopped as well. Thank you. Thanks, Brett.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're